Therefore, on the recommendation of the faculty of Florida State University, and by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Florida Board of Governors and the Florida State University Board of Trustees, I, Eric J. Barron, hereby confer upon you, Dr. Edward O. Wilson, the honorary degree of Doctor of Humane Letters. Congratulations, Dr. Wilson. We are proud that you are now an official member of the Seminole family, and we look forward to working with you in the days and years ahead. We are indeed honored that you have agreed to address our graduates and their families on this very important occasion.
I'm so very happy to come back to FSU after many visits across a span of time. It began in 1972, where I made friends with many of the faculty members and participated in research projects in this part of the world. I continue to do that now. I look forward to returning so long as I am able to this beautiful part of the country, this important university. It meant so much to me that when I published a novel on this part of the world several years ago, two of the lead characters were based upon members of the FSU faculty. They will go unnamed today, but it's very favorable. My characterizations are based upon them. Now, I want to use my time, which I will make brief, to address you in this early stage of your career concerning the coming relation to science and technology. It's going to be more important than perhaps even you training under people who've been giving you state-of-the-art were able to stress adequately. From a lifetime of counseling undergraduates and graduate students, mainly at Harvard, I have a good idea of what you need to know in science and technology and medicine in order to succeed in your career. Let me begin by urging you to stay on the path of whatever one you have chosen at this point, and to go as far as you can. The world needs you badly. But it's also true that humanity is fully into the techno-scientific age, which means that it needs all of you badly to also increase your own background in science and technology as you go. There's going to be no turning back. Although it varies among disciplines, say astrophysics to molecular genetics, to immunology, to microbiology, to public health and environmental science. Knowledge in science overall is doubling every 15 to 20 years. Technologies is increasing at an incomparable rate. Between them, the two already pervade, as you must be increasingly aware, every dimension of human life, of everybody, all the time. So swift is the velocity of the techno-scientific revolution, so startling its countless twists and turns that no one can predict its outcome even a decade from the present moment. There will come a time, of course, when the exponential growth of discovery, of knowledge, which actually began in the 1600s, must peak and level off. But that doesn't matter to you. The revolution will continue for at least several more decades. It will render the human condition radically different from what it is today, and no one can predict what that transformation will be. Traditional fields of study are going to continue to grow, and in so doing merge to create new disciplines. In time, all of science will come to be a continuum of description and explanation of networks of principles and laws that serve as a guidance through them, and that is why you will henceforth need not just to continue training in one specialty if indeed you are going into science and technology, but also, regardless of the path you have chosen and the career you have put your training to gain breadth in other fields related to or even distant to your own choice, and be aware of the details of this revolution. Keep your eyes lifted and your head turning. The thirst for knowledge, such broad knowledge including, is in our genes. It was put there by our distant ancestors who spread across the world, and it will never be quenched. To understand and use it sanely requires a vastly larger population of scientifically literate people in education, medicine, law, diplomacy, government, business, and the media that exists today. Our political leaders need at least a modest degree of scientific literacy that most very sadly lack today. It will be better for all if they prepared before entering office on what this new age portends, rather than learn it on the job. Hence, you will all do well to act on the side as teachers during the span of your career, regardless of what the nature of that career is. I'm going now quickly and above all to just touch on a subject that's both a vital asset and a potential barrier to scientific literacy, and that is mathematics. You thought you'd heard the last of that, didn't you? Well, if you are a bit short in mathematical skills, and especially you're a little nervous because you do want to go into science and technology, don't worry, relax. Many of the most successful scientists at work today are mathematically only semi-literate. A metaphor will serve well here, where elite mathematicians and mathematical theorists often serve well as architects in the expanding realm of science and technology. The remaining large majority of basic applied science are the ones who map the terrain. They scout on the side. They hunt to the frontiers. They cut the pathways. They raise the buildings along the way, and some may have considered me foolhardy, but it's been my habit to brush aside the fear of mathematics in talking to candidate scientists and those going into science and technology, and those who have become convinced that they need to have some background. During 41 years of teaching biology at Harvard, I watched sadly as bright students turned away from the possibility of a scientific career, or even from taking non-required courses in science, the kind everyone needs, because they were afraid of failure. These math phobes deprive science and medicine of an immeasurable amount of sorely needed talent, and they fell unnecessarily short of the full general education we tried to give them. Here's how to relax your anxieties if you have them. Understand that mathematics is a language, ruled like verbal languages by its own grammar and system of logic. Any person with average quantitative intelligence can learn to read that language well enough to make your way through scientific journals even, and certainly to understand simpler, more general explanation of what is going on in the world faster and faster, accelerating rate. The longer you wait to become at least semi-literate, the harder the language of mathematics is to master, just again as in verbal languages, but it can be done, and at a reasonable pace and not too difficult. I speak as an authority on this subject because I'm an extreme case. I didn't take algebra until my freshman year at the University of Alabama. I finally got around to calculus as a 32-year-old tenured professor at Harvard, where I sat uncomfortably in classes with undergraduate students a little more than half my age. A couple of them were students in a course I was teaching on evolutionary biology. I swallowed my pride and I learned calculus. I found out that in science and all its applications, the important thing is not analytic ability, not fluency in mathematics. It is the ability of forming concepts to dream with images and entities and processes pictured by intuition. I found out that advances in science rarely come upstream from the ability to stand at a blackboard and conjure images from mathematical equations. They are instead the products of the downstream imagination, leading to hard work, during which mathematical reasoning may or may not prove to be relevant. Ideas emerge when a part of the real or imagined world is studied for its own sake. Of foremost importance for you going into science and technology, but surely of any field that you're going into, is to learn as much as you can all of the others known in the relevant entities and processes that might be involved. And when something new is discovered, it is logical then, as one of the following steps, if you were engaged in the scientific enterprise as I was, to find the mathematical and statistical methods to move the analysis forward. If that step proves too difficult for you, for the team, or the person that made the discovery, a mathematician or statistician can be added as a collaborator. I did it repeatedly. I will modestly suggest that you call it Wilson's Principle Number 1. And it is. It is far easier for scientists and technologists, including medical researchers, to acquire needed collaboration in mathematics and statistics than it is for mathematicians and statisticians to find scientists able to make use of their equation. Then I will give you principle number 2. This is very important. For every scientist and technologist and teacher of these subjects and those who make use of them, that knowledge, whether researcher, technician, or teacher, or manager, or businessman, or lawyer, who is any level, working at any level of biomathematical competence, there exists a discipline in science and medicine for which that level is enough to achieve excellence. Please think about that. I'm going now to close by just a couple of other principles. And one of them is to emphasize whatever enterprise you're doing, science, technology, you really want to get leadership, you want to get involved, you really want to accomplish something young, middle-aged, and old, then try to judge opportunity by how few other entrepreneurs are on hand. This is not to de-emphasize the essential requirement of broad training by any means. In fact, it emphasizes it, or the value of apprenticing yourself with more gifted, established people for a period of time. But here is the principle. You remember the military dictum when a regiment is separated from the field of action. March to the sound of the guns. This principle is, in science, march away from the guns. Once you have settled on a specialty and a research line, you will find it advantageous to go where the fewest people are. It's difficult at first. If you are taking a risk, true, but you're young. And if the subject is thinly populated, you can, with diligence and hard work, become the world authority. And society needs this level of expertise, and it rewards the kind of people willing to do it. Then remember, too, the opportunity. Here comes another principle. In entrepreneurship, from science to business, every problem is an opportunity. The more difficult problem, the greater will be the importance of its solution. So get to it, meet it head on. Now, finally, I have one more of these principles, and it is as follows. For all of you, for whatever field you've chosen, have confidence that you will find your own way to discover, to learn, to teach, and to excel. You can do it. If we stay on our present course, in the decades ahead, we will see dramatic advances in the quality of life. all of us. This country and all of humanity depends on the knowledge and practice of skills you master and the wisdom you show in applying them. I hope you have chosen or will choose a calling that will come in steps to give you the satisfaction that someday, toward the conclusion of your long life effort, you will be able to feel that you have had a life well lived. Thank you.